In today's webinar, I would love to talk to you and impart knowledge that I've acquired over the past 2 months of doing extensive research on mattresses. You know, back in the day, you would just go into a store and lie down on the different cups of mattresses and figure out which one is the one that works really best for you. Things have changed ever since. And what I have realized in my research is that choosing a non-toxic mattress, which was something that I was very concerned with in the past, was the way to go. And I have since discovered that posture support is equally, if not even, it's equally important as picking a non-toxic mattress. Yeah, sure. You know, in the hormones balance community, you know very well that reducing toxins is part of a way of keeping our hormones in check or rebalancing our hormones in case you're suffering from a lot of imbalances. But keeping a really good posture and enjoying deep quality, calm, cool sleep is equally important. And what I've realized that a lot of mattresses will do one or the other. The best of both the worlds is a mattress that supports both posture support and is a non-toxic product. It took me months to find out who that company is, and I have finally found one that I think you're gonna love as much as I do, Intellibed. And I'm here today with Bob Rasmussen, who is the founder of Intellibed. Now, one of the things we're going to be also doing, just to give you a heads up on the workshop, on this webinar, is that we're going to do, I've collected a lot of questions and answers from you guys, and so we're going to be addressing them towards the end of our workshop here. And other than that, I would just love to impart just the knowledge and the whole research with you. So, Bob, why don't we dive straight in?
I am so pleased to be with you, Magdalena, today. It's an honor. I'm really glad that you chose our mattress, and I think that it's going to be fairly obvious to your listeners once we get into the discussion why you chose our bed.
Awesome. Well, why don't we dive in? You know, the first thing we'd love to know is, you know, this is one of the big questions we always get. Hey, Magdalena, what about this mattress, that mattress, right? So why don't we just dive straight into the types of mattresses that are out there, and so that our audience knows the difference a little bit deeper.
Well, it's no wonder that your followers are so confused about buying a mattress. There are so many choices out there. There's so much hype. There's so much information. Much of it is misinformation that it is absolutely impossible without doing significant research and trying to find out how much you trust the sources. It just becomes, it can become overwhelming. There are inner spring beds. Of course, memory foam has become very popular since the 60s. Virtually every mattress that is sold today, at least from the major brands, contains some form of memory foam. Polyurethane foam, natural memory foam. So essentially, there are really 3 or 4 classes of beds. There are beds that have air chambers with foam. There are beds that have a foam core with foam, and Tempur-Pedic would be an example of that. There are inner spring beds, which is an inner spring that has foam on top of it. And then there's a big movement right now, as you mentioned, Magdalena, that there are many beds that either claim or have some type of a certification that they are organic and toxic-free beds. And so that category has grown, but they're not without their problems either, and we'll talk about those here in a minute. But let's just since so many of your listeners in particular are concerned about chemicals found in mattresses, let's start with a discussion about these kind of toxicities, because the mattress is the biggest piece of furniture in your home. And so it is also the biggest potential source for toxins coming into the home. And of course, you've got your carpet and paint and so forth. But if you're going to try and eliminate toxins from your home, a logical place to start is with your mattresses. I want to focus on just the first and the second bullet of this slide here. Fire retardants, formaldehyde, asbestos, PBDEs, and antimony are the most common chemicals that are found in mattresses. Also, the materials that will change a polyurethane foam and turn it into memory foam, and many of your followers will have experience with the memory foam, such as a Tempur-Pedic. When you first open that bed up, there's this very strong chemical smell
Yeah.
that comes, and a lot of people are concerned about that. And I actually don't know, because the manufacturer does not disclose what chemicals there are, but I do see the results of those things in blog posts. It's mostly anecdotal information from people complaining about headaches and nausea and asthma attacks and those kind of things.
And Bob, if I can share this with you, I actually didn't tell you about this before we hit record. One of our, we have an online community, a closed online community of the closest followers called Hormone Thrivers. One of the ladies posted that, again, it's anecdotal, right? But a lot of times it happens,
Yep.
It starts off that way. You know, the way, I mean, before proper testing, for example, was done on BPAs in plastics, you know, it was all like anecdotal at first, right? And then
Yes.
proper research was done. So let's not, you know, trivialize the fact that something is anecdotal. But here's the thing: she posted saying, you know, ever since that she got her memory foam mattress, and from my memory, I think it was Tempur-Pedic, and she got increasingly sick, and then went on vacation and realized that over the course of 2 weeks, she started feeling way better. Got home, she started feeling sick again. And so she threw away the mattress, which is, you know, it's not a cheap mattress to throw away.
Right.
And
Right.
within days, she started feeling well again. And that's how she pinpointed it down to the mattress, and she's changing her mattresses. She changed her mattresses now. So I just want to share this with you because, you know, I think this is really big, and I suspect she's not an isolated case.
I totally agree with you. In fact, there is a website that's not coming to my mind right now that has literally thousands of posts claiming the same thing, that everything from headaches to nausea, dizziness, and those kind of things.
And if you remember the URL later, then let me know, then I can include it in the URL below this video.
Yeah, I will. I'll find the website. But the other thing that I wanted to point out to you is that manufacturers, this is the second bullet down, manufacturers are not required to disclose the chemicals that they use in their beds. So the only thing that the federal government requires is that the mattresses meet a certain burn test. And that is supposedly for our safety, but ironically, many of the chemicals that are used to make the mattress fire retardant are exactly the kind of chemicals that are making us sick. And so there are many health effects from VOC exposure, both long-term and short-term. We've mentioned many of these: headaches, dizziness, irritation of the respiratory system, nausea, vomiting, but there are also long-term exposure concerns, including cancer, kidney and liver damage, and so forth. And so it's not something that should be taken lightly. And some of the VOCs that are specifically in mattresses are PBDEs, formaldehyde. Formaldehyde is used extensively in the foaming process. Polyols, which bind the polyurethane material together, and toluene. So these chemicals in particular are used in the foaming process, and that's why so many of you are concerned about buying foams or buying beds that contain foam. And so it's very important that you figure out how to do your research and evaluate the kind of beds that or the kind of materials that are in the beds that you're considering. And I just want to say that it can be very difficult for you to find that out, because there's both a lot of misinformation about the materials. Many mattress companies are doing a lot of greenwashing, which we'll talk about here in a second, and trying to convince you that their beds are safe, and yet they're not really disclosing the kind of materials that are found in their beds. So I want to take a second, not spend a lot of time, talk about SIDS death. And this is a study that Dr. James Sprott did over in New Zealand. It was a 10-year study that he did. And he found that he was able to completely eliminate SIDS deaths. And this is his statement. I'm going to read it to you. There's a general perception that the cause of cot death remains unknown. This is not so. The cause of cot death, often erroneously termed sudden infant death syndrome or SIDS, has been elucidated as being due to extremely toxic nerve gases generated by fungal activity on chemicals frequently found in cot mattresses and certain other bedding commonly used in baby bedding. And specifically, it was, I'm going back here because it's the antimony that is found in a lot of these materials that the fungal activity was interacting with and causing this nerve gas. We're not claiming that all I'm doing is bringing this study to light, because here in the U.S. it's not generally accepted as scientific. But I can tell you that in his 10 years that what he actually did to solve the problem is he put a impermeable barrier around the crib mattress, and in 10 years he never saw a single crib death. So you can look up his study, Dr. James Sprott. Just Google his name and it will pop up. So we mentioned greenwashing before. I wanted to point out that mattress manufacturers, again, don't have the obligation to disclose what they're using. And so the term natural or eco-friendly has come to mean almost, it means nothing. There's no value in those terms because most manufacturers are using those. Organic is a better option, but the problem is that it quickly breaks down, and you lose support and you lose comfort as a result of that. And so, the whole purpose of this is to talk about the fact that we need both safe and we need supportive. And natural memory foam, which is found in almost every mattress, at least from the major brands of mattresses, it doesn't exist. So it's the point of this whole discussion is it's really important for you to do your research and to work with a company that you really have grown to trust. So let's talk about your bed, Magdalena.
Yeah, that's me on my bed that's taken from this morning in my new house. So, so here's a little story. I wasn't really planning on changing my mattress because I had a completely natural latex organic bed that arrived, was, never had any smells, smelled like, in fact, like cotton, and I loved it. And I bought it just before having a double hip replacement. Bob, you might not know this, but when I was 45 years old, I had to have both hips done. And,
oh boy.
Yeah, and trust me, that was not an easy choice, and it was not like I fought it really hard before finally surrendering to it. But it was more of a genetic thing and a structural thing. So I had it done, and with the surgery, I thought, I want to get a better mattress, and so I got a beautiful organic mattress. And historically, I've always had a lot of lower back problems, which I was assured that was because of my hips and because of my whole posture. It was such, and I learned to just live with it. Having changed the mattress, having done my hips, and I thought, I would love to see some decrease in my lower back problems. Unfortunately, they did not go away. And until I started talking to a couple of friends, and they said, look at a different mattress, which I really, honestly, I thought, this is kind of far-fetched. But I surrendered, and I got the bed. I got an Intellibed. And I have to tell you, Bob, within probably 3 to 4 days, my lower back problems went away. I was blown away. And not only that, the quality of my sleep has improved significantly. I thought it was part of probably going into perimenopause that I would wake up at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, had a bit of a problem going back to sleep. None of that anymore. I'm sleeping right through the night, 7-8 hours, uninterrupted sleep. So significant changes, and as you said, the problem also that I've discovered with my friends who have organic mattresses is that they disintegrate after, they have about a lifespan of 4 to 5 years, 4 or 5 years, not 45.
And that's actually really generous, Magdalena. My research shows that they are incapable of supporting you correctly after just 2 years, because what happens is they lose their what's called resiliency. That's their ability to continue to push back with the same force. And so we're going to talk about this a little more, but the heaviest part of our body is our lower torso. Right. And so that's where all the work is being done in the mattress, right? And so the foam is breaking down faster under your hips and creating a misalignment.
Yeah. So, you know, so that's what really made me choose Intellibed. And I can't tell you, I couldn't be happier. And so that's just to reiterate that. Why did I change? Posture support, no more lower back problems. I want a mattress that lasts me for a long time. I'm not interested in, you know, I spent close to $4,000 on that organic mattress. And,
Yeah.
you know, for that to last even, let's just say, even if it's 4 years, because it's just me sleeping on it right now, right? Even if it's just 4 years, it's 4 years. That's just, to me, that's not long enough for that kind of investment.
$1,000 a year.
Yeah, exactly. That's that's way too much. It improved quality of sleep and motion transfer. Like when a person next to me moves, I can't feel anything, and that's just absolutely awesome, which was not the case in the previous one. Let's move on to the next slide. So what I decided to do is go on a shopping excursion and evaluation, and those were my criteria that I used for picking a mattress. Now, you know, you don't have to go with Intellibed. You can do your own research, and those are the evaluation criteria that I recommend for you to choose. That's what I used. First of all, you definitely want to have the non-toxic mattress because you don't want anything to make you sick. That includes with no off-gassing. That's a very obvious one. You know, the minute you walk into, I mean, you go to a mattress store and there is this horrendous smell, which makes me really feel so sad for the salespeople because they inhale that stuff every day. You don't want that. And there's so much of research in the article we're quoting so much research on the connection between VOCs and what it does to not just your hormones, but your overall, your neurology, your detoxification abilities. Good support for the hips and shoulders, right? And I know, Bob, you're going to be talking a lot more about that, and that's really awesome.
Yeah,
Temperature control, you know, so many of us are going through perimenopause, menopause, where hot flashes and night sweats is one of the most obnoxious and debilitating symptoms. They're not, you know, they're not life-threatening, but they compromise our quality of our sleep, right? And so the mattress has to have temperature control. Durability and warranty. So like I said, you know, that's an obvious one. Ability to try and return, and that's what you guys do as well. So I'll let you comment on that, Bob, later. The customer support you're getting, which I've been loving that from Intellibed. Founder's commitment. I mean, as you can see, I'm with Bob on this call. He's made the time for me to share the knowledge, and we've been preparing for this presentation for a while now. Price and the value, right? You know, this is, again, something, we got something special for you, which I've negotiated a group buy deal for the Hormones Balance community. And so we're going to be sharing this with you just in just a second. So whatever you're choosing, if you're ready to change your mattress, those are the evaluation criteria I would suggest you choose. You just put that mattress company through this acid test, so to speak, and see what comes out for you.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, Magdalena. These are the criteria that anybody should use when buying a mattress. I just wanted to take a second and just reiterate each of them and then talk specifically about what sets Intellibed apart from every other mattress manufacturer that's out there, because new technology has come to the marketplace for the first time in 50 plus years that can solve a lot of the problems that we have when it comes to safe sleep. And obviously an important consideration is the toxicity issue. Sleep temperature, if you're waking up at night because you're in a hot sweat, then it's interrupting your sleep. So foams in particular, memory foam and latex foam, they act as insulators. And so they trap your body heat against you and don't dissipate the heat. And that's the reason that so many people complain about sleeping on a Tempur-Pedic or a full latex core mattress, because there's nowhere for that heat to go. It's just trapped against your body. So your mattress needs to sleep cool. Durability is something that we think almost nothing about when buying a bed, right? It's all cost and how it feels in the showroom. And unfortunately, it's one of the most difficult. It's like toxicity. It's almost impossible for you to evaluate because mattress manufacturers don't disclose, and salespeople don't take the time to understand how the beds are going to hold up. But if you buy a bed like you did, Magdalena, you spent $4,000 on your latex bed, and after 4 years, you're waking up with back pain. If that's happening, then the cost of ownership for that bed, like I mentioned before, is $1,000 a year.
Yeah.
And it's not, it probably wasn't supporting you correctly after 2 years, but you didn't see the symptoms after a couple of more years. So durability is something that's extremely important that you need to consider. I'm sure all of you have experience with mattresses that have the big body impressions in the top of the bed. Now you're sleeping in a mattress that is predisposed to causing your body to go into this hammock shape, which is the reason that you're waking up with back pain. So if you're waking up with more pain than you had when you went to bed, it's time to get off of that torture device and get something that's really going to help you, because you are likely causing long-term functions, because our skeletal structure is plastic in nature, meaning that if we continue to not support it correctly, it's going to take that shape over time. And so that's why our focus has been to make sure that we handle first and foremost the issue of pressure relief and back support. These two are almost incongruent with each other, because in order to get good back support, you actually need to push on your hips to prevent them from sagging into a hammock shape. But if you do that, then it causes a pressure point on your hips and shoulders, and that causes you to toss and turn at night. And so this really is the challenge of the mattress industry. Do I buy a firm bed, or do I buy a soft bed? Firm beds are much better for your back. In fact, years ago, if you had back pain and you went to your doctor would tell you to sleep on the firmest mattress that you can stand to sleep on. Why? Because firm beds don't let your hips sag into a hammock shape. So when we're talking about support, that's simply all we're talking about. The mattress needs to prevent your hips from sagging into a hammock shape. And so you could get a firm bed, which was great for your back, but uncomfortable to sleep in, so you were tossing and turning all night long. Or you could get a softer bed that was better for your hips and shoulders, but especially when that bed started to soften even more, especially under your hips and shoulders, you lose back support. And so this is the challenge of the mattress industry, but the fact of the matter is that our bodies need both firm support and soft comfort at the same time. We don't need either or. So when we've gone mattress shopping in the past, it's been this effort to find the right compromise, right? It's a compromise. Do I buy a firm bed or a medium bed or a soft bed? What's the right firmness of bed I should buy? And it's always this state of compromise.
And I want to mention this, Bob, because I got a lot of questions from our community. Hey, Magdalena,
Yep.
mattress you now are testing, is it soft or is it hard? And you know, just to your point, I found it so hard to answer that question. And I said to them, it's actually both, which is, I know it sounds like a bit like an oxymoron, like, you know, you're kind of contradicting yourself, right? It's like saying it's, you know, it's bitter and sweet, but, you know, things can be bitter and sweet at the same time.
And they can be firm and soft at the same time. And the point is that we have new technology that will provide this firm and soft that I'm going to explain to you here in a minute. So the paradox of firm and soft is that we need total firm support for spinal health. And when we're talking about spinal health, again, you cannot let your hips sag further into the mattress than the rest of your body. But you also need total comfort for soft or for restorative healing. So the blue line on the right, this graph is very important for you to understand. The blue line on the right that dips down here is a normal sleep cycle. So we go through 4 different stages of sleep plus REM. REM is not one of the stages of sleep. Rapid eye movement is where we typically will dream, and that can occur in any of these stages of sleep. But stage 3 and 4 are the most important stages of sleep, and we don't get into those until we get into the bottom of our sleep cycle. So if we have a healthy sleep cycle, what happens is for 90 minutes, we are essentially paralyzed. We sleep in that same position, and we hit the stages 3 and 4 of sleep. Stages 3 and 4, or delta sleep as it's referred to, is where the body builds its immune system. It heals itself. It consolidates our memory. It's the most beneficial stages of sleep. Not a lot other than that is known about it. It's just absolutely critical. And many of the disease states that we see so prevalent in the world today, including diabetes, heart disease, many of the autoimmune diseases are linked to the fact that we're not getting the stages 3 and 4 sleep that we need. So the red cycle is the red line, not line, but graph on this graph here shows what happens when our sleep is fragmented. And there are many things that cause fragmented sleep, but one of the most significant is these big pressure points that build up on our hips and shoulders. So if we're on a firm bed, well, let's say all of us have experience lying down on the floor, right? We lie down on the floor, it feels great for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden we're moving and we're changing positions. Well, the reason for that is because our body, our skin is highly sensitive to pressure. Pressure sores, or bed sores as they're commonly referred to, or decubitus ulcers, are caused when the capillaries close off due to excess pressure, and we're not getting nutrients to the skin, and that tissue will die. It dies from the inside out. And so bed sores for the immobile are a huge problem. So for the elderly or for paraplegics, quadriplegics, it's a huge issue because their body is not giving them the feedback that they need to move to prevent a bed sore. Those of us who are able-bodied, our brain will tell us that. And so it'll wake us up at night when those pressure points get to the point where we've closed off the capillaries in our skin and we toss and turn. And so what happens is we have this fragmented sleep. And so that is the paradox, the problem that we need to apply pressure to our hips to give us good back support. And then the resulting pressure point that's caused from that, that's the reason that we need both firm and soft. We're not interrupting our sleep cycles, so we're getting the deep restful sleep that we need, and we're not waking up with back pain. And so again, that is the challenge of the mattress industry. So let me introduce you to the bed of the future, and I want to explain to you why this is the bed of the future. This is a technological breakthrough. Gel Matrix is the primary cushioning ingredient that's found in all Intellibed mattresses. And it breaks this compromise of firm and soft. It is both firm and soft at the same time. And let me explain to you the reason that it is. So it is going to yield more restorative sleep. You've already talked about your own experience, Magdalena, and we have 18 years in the marketplace and dealt primarily with problem sleepers, people who are not getting the deep restful sleep that they need. And so we have, you talked about anecdotal evidence. We have significant anecdotal feedback from these people over these 18 years that this breakthrough really does work. So let me explain to you how it works. It's very important that you understand. This little graph on the right-hand side really says it all. So the breakthrough is that this material has two separate and distinct behaviors through its cushioning cycle. So the problem with foam, and you can get a firm foam or you can get a soft foam, is if you look at this graph on the right, there is a linear relationship between how far your body sinks in and how hard the mattress pushes back. So with a firm foam, it doesn't have to push in very far to get a lot of pushback force, and so you get these big pressure points. A soft foam, it will push in further, but there is this linear relationship that exists, and so there's only one behavior when it comes to foam and springs for that matter. Gel Matrix uses the physics of column buckling to give us two behaviors. And so if you think about a column, you've got a column that's supporting a bridge, for example. If you put a whole bunch of big trucks up there and we load it, it's going to continue to support until you put one too many of those, and then the column fails and the bridge collapses, right? And so that's how these columns work. And so the design of this Gel Matrix material is such that the walls will collapse anytime they sense excessive pressure, like you would see on your hips and shoulders. And so you get this firm aspect of the material where these support members stand firm, and then when the column collapses, you get this soft aspect. And so what happens as you lie down on this bed is that under your broader surfaces of the body, you get firm support that reaches up to support your side and your back. But under the hips and shoulders, where you have these concentrated loads, the support members collapse underneath. And so as that happens, then it transfers support to the side or to the back. And so you get this very equal distribution of pressure. So let's talk about the firm aspect of this gel matrix material. It is 3 to 4 times firmer than memory foam. If you were to put this 50-pound weight on the memory foam, it would just completely collapse right down, so it bottomed out. And that's what happens when you lie down on any of these foam materials. You have a delayed action with memory foam, but if it's latex foam or polyurethane foam, the further you compress it, the harder it pushes back, but you don't get the support until the material bottoms out. And at that point, then you get these excessive pressure points on the hips and shoulders. Gel matrix will support this 50-pound weight without collapsing. And so it's extremely supportive, and that's how we're able to give the substantial back support that you need. Does that make sense to you, Magdalena?
Yeah, absolutely. That's super straightforward. Yeah. And I like the slide as well.
Yeah, and so what evidence do we have about how pressure relieving the mattress are? Well, the Intellibed mattresses, we have pressure mapped literally tens of thousands of different body types, different shapes, to determine the effectiveness of this material to relieve these pressure points on your hips and shoulders. And when we're talking about relieving pressure points, it's really those two areas that cause us all the problem, right? We have that 2 by 2 square inch bone on our hip that's literally trying to push through our skin. We have our bony shoulders. The hips and the shoulders are the first body parts to come into contact with the surface of the mattress. And so naturally, most of our weight is being transferred to the mattress through our hips and shoulders. These red pressure points that we see on here is typical of what we see on a Sleep Number, a Tempur-Pedic, an innerspring mattress, because they all rely on foam. And foam has only one characteristic to relieve your pressure. It's only compressible. And the further you compress it, the harder it pushes back. And so these excessive pressure points would cause you to toss and turn before you've completed your sleep cycle. They'll interrupt your sleep. Typically, we don't see those pressure points on the gel matrix. This is the same person that's pressure mapped on all of these types of beds with their computer readout of what their pressure points are on those beds. So significantly reduced pressure will help eliminate the tossing and turning that occurs at night, so that you're not waking up with fragmented sleep. And the genesis of the gel matrix technology is that it came out of the hospital bed industry, where it was actually curing bed sores for the chronically immobile and the elderly that other mattresses cause. You don't see memory foam beds. You don't see Sleep Number beds in hospitals. You see gel matrix in hospitals because it is the most pressure relieving material that's out there to eliminate the pressure points on your hips and shoulders. And so the result is that you don't have any compromise across your body. It's firm where you need it. It's soft where you need it on your hips and shoulders. And so that's why we call it dynamically adaptive. It doesn't matter where you lie down on the surface of the bed. It's going to automatically adjust to relieve the pressure points off your hips and shoulders and to provide the firm support that you need under your hips, so that you're not sagging into a hammock shape. It is truly a breakthrough. So we've talked about the firm and soft aspect of this. There's no compromise when it comes to that, but there are other significant ands, we call them. It's durable. This gel matrix material has been tested. Not only do we have it in beds for the last 18 years, where most of those beds are still in use, but we've tested it using industry standard tests and can say that it is among the most durable beds that we've ever seen tested. And so the benefit to that is that you're going to have years and years of comfort and support, consistent comfort and support, which is absolutely critical. It's low motion, it sleeps cool. I'll talk about that here in a second. And of course, we started this discussion about talking about the safety. I'll talk about that as well. So typically, this graph, again, on the left-hand side, we see that, and you hear it in the industry, mattress manufacturers and bedding suppliers are saying that you should replace your mattress every 8 years. That's because the foam breaks down quickly. And the testing that we have done shows that polyurethane foam, latex foam, the typical memory foam will lose anywhere from 20 to 40% of their resiliency over the first 2 years. Now, you might not start seeing back pain from sleeping on that bed for several more years after that. That doesn't mean that you're being supported correctly. The rapid way that these beds break down, typically you should be replacing those beds every 4 to 5 years tops. So the gel matrix material is extremely durable. The durability test that we've done on it shows that it only loses 4% of its resiliency, and that is what makes us very comfortable about offering a 20-year non-prorated warranty on these mattresses. So as far as durability goes, we are not aware of a mattress. You might see other mattresses that have a 20 or 30-year warranty, but most of those are prorated, meaning that you only get full coverage for 5 to 10 years, and then you have to pay a portion of the cost to replace the bed if it goes beyond that. So let's say you have a 20-year warranty on your bed, and you start having problems with it 11 years. They determine that it's a warranty issue. You have to pay better than 50% of the cost of the bed to replace it. 11/20ths of the cost of the bed if it happened in year 11. So that's how these warranties work. You have to be very careful in reading your warranties to make sure that you understand them. Don't think that because somebody says they have a 20-year warranty that you're actually getting a 20-year warranty. So there is virtually no partner disturbance in these beds. Magdalena, you mentioned that before, that when you move, you don't transfer the motion of your movement. And you're going to move less with this bed anyway because it's so much more pressure relieving. Again, this is kind of a look at the buildup of the beds, the Intellibeds. Is we've got this low motion wrapped coil with either a latex or a polyurethane floor under the gel matrix, and then a quilted top. And so you can see that all of these, the gel matrix material is actually a heat sink, so it transfers. It will transfer the heat from the body into the lower surfaces of the mattress, and it sleeps very cool. What's been your experience with that, Magdalena?
No, it's been amazing. I mean, I have not been having any issues whatsoever. In fact, I tested it out the other day when it was still warm. I pulled out my winter cover and just to see, how I'm gonna do. And sure, I got a little hot, but nowhere close to what I used to get the heat from my organic mattress. Yeah.
And that's a lot of that, as I mentioned before, is that the foams that are used in most of the beds that are out there will trap your body heat. It's an insulator, so it insulates you. This conducts the heat and dissipates it in the lower levels of the mattress so that you sleep much, much cooler.
Can I just, what I want to just do first is share with my audience that, and I'll be perfectly honest with you, this was my biggest hesitation when I was researching your product and before contacting you guys, was the whole idea that you are actually not an organic mattress, right? And that was in my mind in the past, was like, I need to have an organic mattress in order to be safe. And so the gel matrix thing, just the fact itself that it's non-organic, that really gave me quite a lot of concern. So what I would like you to do is just explain to our listeners a little bit. And by the way, from that time on, you have helped me dispel it. And I'm sharing this because, I would not have anything toxic in my life. I mean, in fact, the fact itself that I bought a mountain house to be away from pollution, to have well water and spend $2,000 on testing the water, right? And, everything that I have in the house is non-toxic. I'm a little bit like, you may not know this about me, is that I'm like that. I'm your proverbial cannery in a mine, you know, where I'm super sensitive to mold. I can smell things way earlier than anybody else. My lungs start shutting down to a number of different compounds. And so in order to, you know, live a healthy life, I just need to be super particular about that. And I would have never, ever allowed a toxic product into my life. And actually, funny enough, my body actually kind of loved my body that way. You might say I'm sensitive, but on the other hand, I'm also like that early detector that can sense a lot of unsafe compounds. Really, my body just responds to it. So just take a while just to tell us a little bit more about, yes, it is non-organic and it's still made from mineral oil. But there's a but to it. So tell us a little bit more about that.
There are many different grades of mineral oil. We chose to use a food grade. It's more expensive, but we wanted a material that had been completely vetted and would be safe, completely safe. And so this gel matrix material from a toxicity standpoint has been among the most tested of any component that is in any mattress. We've done cytotoxicity tests, which evaluates how the material reacts to human blood. We've done hemolysis tests. Now, the hemolysis test evaluates the blood issue. Cytotoxicity evaluates its effect on human cells. And these are very scientific tests, both of them on a scale of 0 to 4, 0 being completely non-toxic. They both scored 0.
And by the way, you have sent me some of the reports, and I will have them linked to, I'm going to upload them and make them part of the article that I'm writing.
Good. We took it a step further. We thought, well, we have workers that are making this gel matrix material. Are we exposing them to any danger? So we bought a very expensive VOC meter that evaluates 400 different compounds that would come off. And we put it right in the off-gassing area. We use heat to manufacture this, so there's a little bit of smoke's the wrong term, but you can see it rising off. It's not really smoke, but as you think of a traditional smoke, we put it right at the manufacturing source, and there were less VOCs coming off of the manufacturing line than I found in my office. Well below the range that would be considered safe.
So where did the VOCs come, Bob? Where did the VOCs come from in your office?
From your carpet, for example, from the paint on your walls, furniture.
Okay.
All of these produce off-gassing. So again, VOCs are typically compounds that are used in manufacturing during the manufacturing process that can easily become airborne. And then when they become airborne, of course, you're breathing them in. And when you're sleeping on a mattress, you have your face literally right inches away from the sleeping surface. And so they're readily available to you when you're breathing. And so it was dramatically less, in fact, at the manufacturing line than it was in my office. It was still well below what experts say is safe. Mm-hmm. But the point of the matter is we have carefully vetted this material to ensure, even though the fact that it doesn't fit under the classic definition of an organic material, we are very, very comfortable saying that it is completely non-toxic. So that's been the focus of our beds. You know, I get asked the question all the time, how come you just don't use, you do have a little bit of polyurethane foam in there. Why don't you use these foams that are certified organic? And the answer to that question is that's not the only consideration that you need to make when you're buying a bed, is a toxicity issue. If that's the only thing that you focus on, within a couple of years, you're going to have a bed that's not supporting you correctly, and that creates other problems. So you need to consider all of these things when you're buying a bed. And the fact of the matter is, a good quality polyurethane itself is completely non-toxic. It's the additives that they put into these foams that are causing all the problems, including the fire retardancy and the materials that make them behave like memory foam behaves.
So
those are the things that you need to worry about.
Let me ask you that. This is a really important point, is about the additives that are added. So let me ask you, what are you guys using as fire retardants?
Well, let me first of all state that the federal government requires that beds meet a certain burn test. And their logic is that if a fire starts in the home, it's not necessarily to prevent a bed fire, right? It's that you have this massive piece of furniture in there that is going to add to the heat load. So if the house catches on fire, they want to limit the amount of heat that the mattress produces when it catches on fire. And so in theory, it makes a lot of sense to try and do that. But the problem is that most of the additives that manufacturers will use, the lesser expensive versions of those are spray-on chemicals that you just spray on the surface of the bed, and that will allow them to pass the test. And unfortunately, manufacturers don't have to disclose what they're using. So we use a silica-based fire barrier. It fits across the just inside the covering of the mattress, that it fits over it like a sock does. And there is nothing that's sprayed onto the bed. It's an acrylic fiber that has no bioavailable chemicals that will off-gas. And it's very safe and very effective. In fact, these exceed the standards that the government has set for the heat output of the mattresses. So there are two big wins for this. First of all, it's non-toxic. There's no sprayed-on chemicals, no antimony or the typical type of chemicals that you will see with the spray-on type of options. So the material has been tested for baby bottle nipples and for all kinds of children's toys. It's very safe for babies. It's edible. You could ingest it. It's really chewy, but it is edible. It's like a soft rubber. A lot of people, when they think about a gel material, they think of a viscous liquid. This is not that. This is a very soft but strong and durable. You can see from this graphic right here, it is this gel material formed into this grid that is extremely, extremely safe. And so the minimal amount of foam that we do use in these beds is all CertaPure certified to eliminate the toxins that you'll typically see in polyurethane foam. And the latex foam, of course, is also CertaPure certified. And then the tempered steel inner springs, of course, it doesn't off-gas anything important. This is going to be important to some of your listeners. Every component was made here in America. So let me just finish up by saying that thousands of doctors and bloggers and influencers have, that's been one of our primary focus is to do this ground roots kind of education campaign, where we're meeting with the people who are doing the research and really evaluating these beds. Many of these doctors are homeopathic or DCs. They're not traditional doctors in the sense of the Western medical model where symptoms are treated and not the root cause. And they have done the same evaluation that you've done with the beds. One of the significant doctors was Dr. Robert Troll, the first doctor that's mentioned here. He is a Stanford-trained sleep doctor, and he actually did a study where he wired individuals up on a Tempur-Pedic, a Sleep Number, and an Intellibed, and his objective was to find out which provides the most restorative sleep. So when we say restorative sleep, we're talking about completing your sleep cycles and allowing you to get the deep delta sleep that you need. And his comment based on that study was that this is the single best bed for restorative sleep. It's going to allow you to complete your sleep cycles. But there are, everybody posts all these testimonials on their website. We have thousands of doctors who recommend the bed, and that's one of the strongest evidences of people who've done their own research on the bed. They haven't just taken our word for it. They've done their own research. They've recommended it to their clients and to their patients, and their patients are giving them feedback saying, yes, it solved my problem.
Yeah, so thank you for that, Bob. This was great. And so one of the things that I did was I went to you guys and asked for a special deal that we can bring into our community to create something special as a group buy, because the community is quite sizable. So you guys have agreed to do a few special things for us. And the first thing is the Hormones Balance community is going to be getting 10% off on the mattress. You guys are going to be getting a free delivery which sounds like not much because almost everybody's doing it for delivery until you actually see the bed. It's actually super sizable. It's not one of those that you fold it up and, you know, people pull it out of a truck and then throw it on your bed. It's
and that's
a really solid bed.
Yeah, we didn't mention that, Magdalena, but that's really important to understand. These beds, they're not squashed down and rolled up like a sleeping bag. That's the latest trend in the mattress industry, right? Is a bed in the box that you can just buy on Amazon and have it shipped to you. Boy, my experience shows that those beds just don't hold up. And one of the frequent questions we're asked about the difference between us and Purple. Well, that's one of them. You can roll their beds are roll packed. Yeah. A good quality mattress that's going to provide the support and durability that you need. You can't do that to those beds. So these beds are delivered full size.
Yeah.
2 guys show up and they put them in your room.
Yeah, and in fact, what's not showing in this picture is you're also getting the base, which is the spring forward base for the bed. You'll see that in the picture that when I was sitting on the bed, that's and I'm going to put the picture on the blog post as well. So you can see there is a foundation to it. So you're getting those 2 pieces, not just the mattress itself. We're also doing a mattress protector, which is that's going to be, there's a lot of questions we got about how do you protect your mattress from mites or from getting dirty. So the mattress protector is great for that. You are also getting these beautiful organic cotton sheets. I just got mine and they feel very luxurious and really nice and smooth and very cool to the touch. So the code is Hormones Balance. Don't forget about the S at the end of Hormones Balance. The website to go and check it out to claim claim the whole offer is intellibed.com/hormonesbalance. You probably might want to talk to a representative. Either shoot us a question, you probably know us already, support@hormonesbalance.com, or you have a phone number. If it's more technical questions, my team wouldn't know how to answer those, but that's where the Intellibed support team is there, the 844 number, so just dial that. Can you just tell us, Bob, a little bit about the difference between the Indigo Organics and the Sapphire Organics?
Yes, and let me just point out to you that this number, when you call in, is a dedicated number to the Hormone Balance. So when you call, our associates will know the deal that you're getting, and you don't need to explain that. So nice. you will want to make sure, though, that you tell them that it was part of the Hormone Balance special offer that we have.
Yeah, because
so
it really
the difference.
I just want to say before you talk about the beds, this is a special offer. It's one of the best offers you find in the market. So it's something very custom to our needs, and I've asked for a number of different things to be thrown in based on the feedback that we got from our listeners. So just want you guys to know this. All right, let's talk about the difference between the 2 mattresses.
Yeah, essentially there are 2 main differences. The Indigo has 2 layers of the gel. It's actually you actually get a little more of what makes Intellibed so great. You get more support, which sounds surprising, but I've been actually sleeping on this bed for a while now. And if I sleep on a bed that doesn't give me good back support, I immediately know it. And I notice that you are sleeping on the Indigo. So it's really odd because you think because you get 2 layers of gel that it actually would feel softer. It does feel softer, but it also feels more supportive. Mm. And then it's got a quilted cover on it. So what it tends to do is to mask the feel of the gel a little better. With the Sapphire, it doesn't have that. So you're much closer to the gel. And so you can actually feel the support members, the gel support members, collapsing underneath you. The Indigo is a little more expensive. The Sapphire is a little less expensive. But you know, the great thing about our sleep experts is they know how to help you pick the right bed. They're going to help you pick the right bed. And then you mentioned before that we offer a money-back guarantee. We do. We'll come in. If it doesn't work out for you, we'll either swap the bed out for you, get you the right bed you need, or give you your money back. The only thing that you risk is the initial shipping cost to get it to you. It's a couple $100. So there's very, very little risk. And I can tell you honestly, after 20 years, almost 20 years of being in this business and selling these beds, we have about a 4% return rate.
And just to just remind us again, how many years of warranty are we getting?
It's a 20-year non-prorated warranty.
Okay. All right. Awesome. All right. I think we have the Q&A session after this.
We do. Let me just start hitting those questions right now.
So thanks you guys for putting up. Yeah. So basically I've asked the community to ask questions. What would you like me to cover in the research, and what would you like me to ask the mattress company? So we've got a few here. Let's start off with the first one. I just bought an avocado mattress, wondering how it compares with other mattresses we had at Tempur-Pedic, and I was getting sicker. I am now on the road to healing. This is the lady I was telling you about earlier, about how sick she was getting from her mattress. So yeah, give it a go, Bob.
I actually like the avocado mattress quite a bit. It has a pocket coil in it. It's not the quality of the pocket coil that we have in our beds, but from a support standpoint, it's pretty good. And it has, of course, it is Green Guard certified, which means that it's a very rigorous certification that goes through to determine the toxicity. So I'm not surprised that she was feeling sick on her Tempur-Pedic and that she feels better sleeping on this bed. The difference between it and a Intellibed is that you're going to get better pressure relief and better long-term support out of an Intellibed compared to an avocado. But I don't think that you made a bad choice. I think it's actually a pretty decent choice.
Yeah, and I had something very similar to avocado as well. But you know, like we talked about, I think when you are vulnerable to, if you have postural issues going on, you know, look, I mean, there are people who can sleep on the floor and wake up and be perfectly fine. You know what I mean? Like you go, you know, I traveled to India. I mean, people sleep literally on the floor or just on a, you know, on a hay rack, right? And they are fine. So I think it's just a question of how vulnerable are you and what kind of support do you need. And so, you know, for someone like me who's got postural issues, I definitely could feel the difference. And you would know if avocado serves you well, then great, just stick to it. If not, then maybe it's time to start thinking about it.
Yeah, I really think that you'll probably get a couple of good years life out of that avocado bed. But the minute you start waking up with pain or you feel that you're tossing and turning too much, then that's when you should replace it.
Yeah. This is a really great question. How can you tell which firmness is best for you?
Yeah, and that's we've touched a lot on this. We've talked about the fact, and we don't talk much about firmness here in our company because you need both. You need both firm and soft, and it's essential that you get that. So it's not really something if you're going to buy an Intellibed that you need to worry that much about, because you're going to get a very firm but very soft and comfortable mattress. It's going to eliminate your pressure points. Yep.
Is latex mattress safe or just as many toxins as the other ones?
Well, there are various grades of latex that are available. Certified organic, I personally don't think that they exist because the standard is so high to call something organic. I mean, you cannot have been, for the last 20 years, you cannot have treated anything with any kind of a pestilence or any kind of a fertilizer. So I don't know that there are any latex producers out there that can say that about their beds. But generally speaking, latex is safer than the other types of foams out there, just because it uses and even the synthetic latexes, we have found to still be very, very safe.
Yeah.
If you can detect an odor when you open it, then that's what you should be worried about. And if you can't figure out what the manufacturer used as a fire barrier, then don't buy that bed.
Interesting. So it's a matter of contacting them. And so it really goes back, Bob, to the same question, right? Of yes, it's non-toxic, but how well does it support the body? All right, next one.
That's really it.
Yeah. How can you tell which firmness is best for you, especially with so many of the non-toxic options being online only?
Our experience with the organic beds, and it's across the board, and it's mostly anecdotal, but there's been testing on these materials done too. They break down quickly, And that is the problem with these organic beds, and it's why we're quick to say that we're not organic. We're not going to jump onto the organic bandwagon. Our effort has been to build a bed that's non-toxic. And we think toxicity is a lot more important when you add into that the need for proper support and proper comfort. So I would say that if you want to replace your organic bed every 3 or 4 years to give the proper support, then that is your choice, as opposed to try and find a bed that's non-toxic.
Yeah. And you know, going back to the issue of firmness here, it's like you said, it's like, you know, to the question that I always get, is your mattress firm or is it soft? And it's both, right? So it's hard to explain how that is possible, but it really feels that way. It feels very comfortable, but it also feels like my butt is not sagging, and I have a big butt, big butt. So I can tell you that it's safe.
And it's critical when we talk about support. That's what we really mean. You cannot let your hips sag into a misalignment. Even small misalignment, especially if you're sensitive to back pain, even a small misalignment will cause that problem. Okay. So you need to be supported correctly. In our opinion, that's the most important thing that you need to do, is to have the best support. And then secondary to that, but also very important, is the pressure relief. You don't have to compromise on either of those two things when you buy an Intellibed. And it's very non-toxic.
What's the best type of mattress to mitigate mold and dust mite allergies that also doesn't have dangerous or irritating chemicals? That question about mold and mites was one of the biggest questions that we got. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, mold is if you trap your body heat, especially, which includes moisture, then that can induce mold. Dust mites just feed on your dead skin. So the best way to eliminate both of these problems after you have already bought a non-toxic mattress is to put a mattress protector on top of your bed. That way you can just pull it off and throw it in the washing machine and eliminate the food source for the dust mites. And typically after you get your bed in the home, mold is not an issue.
Yeah, and the cool thing is that the part of the deal for Hormones Balance, you guys are getting a mattress protector as well. How do you clean your mattress?
Designed to work with the bed.
Right, exactly. Yeah. How do you clean a mattress?
Yeah, same answer. Put a good mattress protector on it.
Okay. Are there flame retardant free options besides wool? I'm allergic.
Yes, there's this silica-based fire barrier that we use. I've never seen, again, this is anecdotal information, but in the 20 years we've been building these beds, I've never seen a single allergic reaction from anybody on any of the components that we use in the bed. So that's I think, a good option for you.
Okay. I have a Tempur-Pedic that goes up and down. Love it, but is it a good one?
Well, we've talked about the Tempur-Pedic. It has its downsides. I mean, they build a decent bed, and there's a lot of people that have them out there and a lot of people that love them and swear by them. They sleep hot. They do work on an adjustable base. All of our beds work on an adjustable base. So if you're concerned about the toxicity issues with your Tempur-Pedic, you can replace it, put our bed directly on your adjustable base that you already have. We didn't talk much about adjustable bases, but they're an option that can give you an infinite amount of adjustability to find comfort and support that you need. But all of our beds will work on an adjustable base.
Oh, that's great. I did not know that. That's awesome. All right, let's see. Yeah. How long should we really keep a mattress?
I addressed this earlier, but if you're waking up in pain in the morning, then that's an indication that you're not getting the support. If you're not feeling rested when you wake up in the morning, it's probably because your sleep cycles are getting fragmented, and you should replace that bed.
Okay. All right, you guys. So a quick reminder, the deal is 10% off. You're getting free delivery, mattress protector, beautiful organic cotton sheets. Yeah, so that's the URL down at the bottom. My preference is definitely the Indigo Organics. That's the one that I'm using, and it really is quite life-changing, I have to say. Quality of sleep, but just having no lower back pain, which is quite amazing, you know, Bob, is a reminder of how we get used to living with pain. And I always talk about that a lot, you know, how a lot of our communities, nothing to do with sleep, but even if you just talk about food, going, every time I eat something, it makes me sleepy, or, you know, or I'm always bloated, or I've always got a headache. I've always had zits on my face, right? Is that always thing? And I have to say, I caught myself thinking the same, that it's just so normal. My normal was to have a lower back problems. And I've always thought that was because of my hips. Then I got the hips replaced and I'm like, why am I still having lower back issues? You know, and I just grew to believe that that was just part of my body structure. And what a relief to know that just using the mattress for the past 2 months, my lower back issues are completely gone. And as we were recording this, you know, I literally just moved to a new home, right? The mountain house I was talking about. Massive unpacking, right? And I'm doing it on my own. And, you know, and it's brutal on the body, especially like I'm not a physically, you know, I don't do unpacking and moving for a living, right? So really harsh on the body. And I have to tell you that it's been like 2 nights ago, I went to sleep because I had a little bit of problem with my shoulder. And I felt like I just strained it from, you know, being out on my feet for 14-hour days, right? And unpacking. I hate living out of boxes. So I just wanted to unpack really quickly. And, you know, it's been a week and I'm pretty much done. And for a big house, it's quite an accomplishment for one person. And I went to bed and thinking, man, this is not gonna be great. And I woke up and the pain was gone. So, you know, it's just really awesome. And I really want to encourage you to give it a shot. It's a risk-free purchase because you can always return it if you feel like it's not really helping you. And a little, just to preface it also, you know, I think it helps with so many different ways. We talked about that. I don't need to tell you how important sleep is with hormonal balance. I think it's a no-brainer to know when you wake up after a good night's sleep, how different you feel. You know, hormonally speaking, for that matter, just like a little tidbit here, growth hormone, right, which is responsible for, you know, really restoration of all our tissue, but also is also known as the anti-aging hormone that repairs our cellular tissue, but also our skin. You know, also only gets produced when we are in deep sleep. Interesting, right? So that's the reason why people look like, you know, we look so aged when we don't sleep properly. So that's, you know, that's a big part of the equation, but by no means is changing you know, a solution to everything, right? I think this works really well when you combine it with a proper diet, which I always talk about, anti-inflammatory diet, combine it with good hygiene before going to bed, not watching television, turning off everything, sleeping in a dark room, cooler room. All of that is going to help tremendously. This is just yet another tool to add it to your toolbox. Bob, it was so awesome to have you on a call. I've learned a ton from you today. Thank you for offering us this wonderful deal. And
you're welcome. It's been my pleasure.
Is anything, any parting thoughts that you want to just split with us before we wrap up?
No, just that I completely agree with you. It needs to be part of a total plan. And if you're ignoring your sleep, there's this new technology that's out there that can really, really help. And I just want to point out that it's not going to be a miracle cure, that it may take some adjustment time. We've had people say, oh, boy, I actually didn't sleep. I slept worse last night. But give it some time. It's changing the way that your body is sleeping. It's supporting you differently than you're used to. So don't give up on it if after a week or two you're still feeling a little bit of pain. That's not the norm, but it does happen. So I'm just convinced that there's not a better sleep surface out there to accomplish everything that you need to better than the Intellibed.
Thank you so much, Bob.